Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again in this YouTube astrological segment. I'm going to be talking about astrology and the death of Grant Imahara, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing his last name right. I'm sorry if I'm not, but anyway, it's almost becoming redundant and monotonous. We're seeing a lot of these celebrities, actors, actresses die. Recent time, it seems like there's just one that's just falling after the other. This one is another Sun and Libra, depending on time of birth. Based on, of course, I had to improvise again into a solar/sunrise chart in which I put the Sun at the same position as the ascendant. Don't have a time of birth for him. Only 49 years old. Just terrible. The last chart I talked about is the celebrity that died, Kelly Preston, another Sun in Libra. The thing about it is, the reason why there's Libras right now are some susceptibility, more so I would say than the average zodiac sign, for death and things that are perilous. A lot of it's because that transit Pluto could be squaring their sun, or could be in their fourth house as far as the solar sunrise chart goes. And the fourth house, of course, is connected with the end of life. It's in this case, transit Pluto, you could say, is making a long square to his Libra sun based on the solar sunrise time. It puts the sun at 29 degrees, which could be, which is a critical, not could be, is a critical degree in astrology. Sometimes there could be, it could manifest in crisis-related situations with the physical body. Yes, the ascendant is what's really strongly connected with one's physical body, but the sun can still play a role as well. Being the fact it's Libra, if he actually does have the sun at 29 degrees Libra, it wouldn't surprise me if he's had some issues like with the lower back and kidneys. Given that we're talking about the zodiac sign Libra. Now, the thing about this is, the one thing that stands out to me as far as his passing, he died reportedly of a brain aneurysm. And that's like, I believe, a rupture, like in a blood vessel in the brain. And in his natal chart, he has Chiron in Aries, and it falls in the solar sunrise chart in his 6th house of health. And Aries, of course, can be associated with the brain. When you're talking about Chiron, Chiron can be about emotional suffering, but it could also manifest in physical suffering at times, and physical wounds. And the thing about this is, too, he also had transit. He's going through his Chiron return at this time, and Chiron, I believe, recently went retrograde in Aries. So it's like really like taking a turn for the worse, perhaps, as far as that situation with his brain, the brain aneurysm goes. And he also had transit Mars, at least in a loose conjunction to his natal Chiron and Aries, and Mars can be about blood, and of course Aries can be about the brain. So you're talking about his natal Chiron and Aries could be about physical suffering with the brain. You have transit Mars hitting that. It's not surprising. This was a time when he had the rupture in the as far as the blood vessel in the brain. I believe that's what happens when you're talking about somebody passing due to a brain aneurysm. And he also has Aries on the 6th house cusp in his natal chart. Even that by itself can sometimes be an indicator of issues that could be Aries, physical issues that could be Aries related, such as with the brain or the face or the skull. Anyway, another thing I noticed too is that he has Jupiter, as far as the solar sunrise chart, he has Jupiter in Scorpio in the 1st house, and Jupiter can also be another planet associated with the blood. And Scorpio is the sign associated with death. Now, he worked on a series on Mythbusters, where I guess it would be debunking it would be showing whether it might be debunking some myths, and it could be also maybe validating them, perhaps in some cases. It's interesting that he has Neptune in Sagittarius at 29 degrees at 29 degrees I'm sorry, Neptune in Scorpio at 29 degrees now, and it's conjunct his Venus. So it's not surprising that he made money doing something in which he got to the bottom, right, in some instances of things that were deceptive, or that might have simply just been myths in some cases. Now, in going, and of course being in Scorpio, going beyond subterfuge and superficiality and going deep into those matters, it would not surprise me one bit. Now, another thing is it stated on in his Wikipedia, I believe, wikipedia.org, that he was also a roboticist. I guess that would be something where you're doing work with robots. And what I noticed is that I was trying to look for something in his chart that could manifest in being proficient in that kind of field. Now, he has Mars conjunct his Uranus in his chart. Now Mars could be about mechanical ability. Uranus can be about electronics, but it could also be associated with robotics as well. Robotics, computers, electronics. This is where perhaps he showed having that mechanical ability and being able to do things with robots. And given that it's in the zodiac sign Libra, maybe there was some artistry that was involved in this as well. Maybe he saw this as an art to him. Now, another thing is he has, I mean, based on the solar sunrise chart, his sun is in Libra, moon in Leo, sun in Libra. I mean, it's obviously it's a very good combination for entertainment and the arts. You're talking about the sun in Libra, who could want to be involved in the arts one way or another, and perhaps he brought this out through, I mean, you're talking about the moon in Leo in a very extroverted manner and through entertainment. Um, so this is, I mean, it's not really surprising. It wouldn't surprise me if his sun actually is in Libra as opposed to Scorpio. So, and anyway, it's really, it's another thing, some other things I've noticed, I noticed in his chart. Now, he has in his chart also, what I noticed as well too, is that on the 8th house cusp, he has Taurus. The 8th house, of course, is associated with death in astrology. The ruler of that, Venus, is conjunct Neptune. Now, this could be an indicator of some death where it was showing maybe there was some weakness of some kind, and maybe just something general in terms of really, I would just say the word weakness, I think, could apply uh, in this case. And this was a time too. I mean, looking at this, I mean, on the positive end, that maybe the conditions, at least to some degree, the fact he has Taurus on the cusp of the 8th house in the solar/sunrise chart, is that the death was a peaceful one, at least to some degree. And also Neptune is about dissipation and dissolving. It could have been where there was some energy that might have been dissolved and dissipated this time, because it conjuncts that ruler of the Neptune conjuncts the ruler of his 8th house, Venus, and you're talking about Venus is also the ruler of his sun. And another thing too, this is something, and as well, again, having that conjunction with Venus and Neptune, it's not surprising he made money, yeah, doing something connected, with being involved in something that would be associated with filmography when he's on that show, Mythbusters, and it dealt with matters. It connected with duplicity and deception at times if they were in situations when they would be myths that were trying to be debunked. So anyway, I really don't have too much more to say about this as far as how his chart may have been, chart as far as natal placements and transits may have been related to his passing. At the time, he also had transit Saturn, making a square to his natal sun. And when you have a transit like that, that can give you, as far as issues with the physical body, there may have been some issues with his knees, or his bones at this time, or maybe even teeth. It's something I don't uh, really know at this time, and it's something we might not ever know. And this is it's just terrible again that we had a passing, at such a relatively young age. Well, another thing I noticed too is that, and one last thing I want to get, I noticed that the ruler of his sixth house, which of course is Mars, is conjunct Pluto. So it's not surprising that he passed away due to a debilitating health-related issue. And having Mars conjunct Pluto by itself can sometimes indicate an issue where you may die due to something that could be blood related. And you're talking about I guess it's a ruptured blood vessel in the brain. So that's really it's really pretty much what I wanted to as far as what I wanted to get. Another thing, well, one last thing I noticed too is that the ruler of his 12th house, and that's house of endings. That ruler is Venus, and that is conjunct Neptune. So it could be where you're talking about an ending where there might have been maybe some lethargy or there might have been some weakened vitality at this time, and I don't know if there was hospitalization at this time. He may have been rushed to a hospital. Neptune can be connected with institutions and hospitals, so it would not surprise me if that's what went down at the time of his passing. So really, that's pretty much what I wanted, I guess you could say, to get at as far as the transits go in his chart, and transits and natal placements that may have been tied into his passing. But anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, people, Edwin Learnard saying stay well.